Welcome back, Sober Family. This is another episode of Recovery Talk brought to you by Pro Recovery Power. So, real quick before we get started, I mentioned this yesterday on the live that our website is active now. You can go check it out at prorecoverypower.com. Also, if you need a meeting, we also created a non-denominational meeting here on Zoom. I mean, not here on Instagram, but on Zoom. And it's every Wednesday night at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So, it's non-denominational, meaning all fellowships, all support groups, anybody who is seeking help is welcome. So you can check that out on the posts on the PRP page. Hey guys, everybody, thanks for joining. Today, I got my girl Sarah on. She's gonna tell her story now. I don't want to tell it for her, so I better not even go there. But here she comes, guys. Here she comes. Hang on. Hey.
Hi, how are
There she
you?
is. How's it going?
I'm good. How are you?
All right, doing good.
Can you hear
I,
me
I
okay?
feel I feel a little like under the weather. I know we was talking about this earlier
Yeah.
today, but I'm good. I committed to doing these things. It takes like I would have to physically be stopped in order for me to stop doing these kind of things.
You're
So like
amazing.
if I physically cannot walk or talk, then I won't be doing this. But until that happens, I'm gonna keep doing it.
You really are so inspiring. I
Yeah.
think I'd be like, I'd be in bed. I'd be like, I can't do it. No, seriously, I get it though. Yeah. With
Yeah, yeah,
recovery,
yeah. Well, how's it going? How are you?
I'm good. I'm really loving the sober life. I've been sober for some time now, but
Hmm.
it feels like a long time, but in some aspects, it doesn't feel like that long at all.
Right, right. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
That's cool. I mean, we'll talk about this too, but I know you have your own podcast, which is great. It's super cool. Like last night, you seen I tagged you and I was listening to the interview you did with Jim. Um, I love that guy, man. That guy, he is
Me
the
too.
poster boy for vulnerability, man. Like,
Yeah.
if you ever have something that you want to share, but you think you're gonna be judged and this and that, like go listen to one of his talks.
Yeah.
You'd probably be a lot more open, to sharing your heart with somebody else. The things that has happened to you. But I really appreciate you being here, Sarah. I was looking forward to this because I've been following you for a while.
Aw.
And I've seen all the people you've interviewed, like a lot of people like that are my friends. Like you've interviewed tons of them, even people I didn't know you interviewed. Like Chris, he's out there in South Africa.
Mhm.
He has the ultimate podcast voice.
Oh, I know.
Chris.
I know. And the best laugh ever. And if he's
Yeah,
listening,
yeah,
his
yeah,
laugh, sometimes I tell him, like, can you just send me a message, like a messenger, and just laugh? I just want to hear your laugh because he's the best laugh
yeah.
ever. Yeah. And a great sense of humor, but a super program too. He's a sober guy and really walks the walk.
Yes,
So,
absolutely. I absolutely agree.
yeah.
Hey, Kevin, what's up, brother? Um, before we get started, you kind of dive into your story. I'll just ask you three basic questions.
Yeah.
The first one is, Sarah, is how long have you been sober?
Um, I've been clean and sober since August 20th, 2012.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, yeah.
2012 was actually the worst year of my entire life. But I don't want to
Oh,
get into all that. But that one really, yeah, because I was drinking and drugging every day that year. That year, every single day. But okay, that's awesome. That's a bunch of time. That's cool. So, next question is, where are you from?
I live on the East Coast. I'm a Jersey girl.
Oh,
Yep, born and
man,
raised. Yeah.
you're like the nicest person from the East Coast I ever met, I think.
Oh, come on. We're all nice.
uh,
Yeah. No,
you
yeah,
got the West
totally.
Coast vibe going.
Well, it's funny. I think my heart kind of, there's a part of me that like feels very pulled to the West Coast. Every time I've been to the West Coast, I'm like, oh, I feel at home here. But I
Yeah.
was born here in Jersey and now I'm raising my kids here and it's working out. But who knows, one day I might settle down out there on the West Coast. So,
Yeah, all right. Do you guys, or prior to COVID, did you used to come
yeah.
and travel out here at all or anything?
Not well, before having kids, my husband and I went to a lot of weddings all over the country. I think the year before he and I got engaged, we went to, I think, 15 weddings all over the
Oh,
country. and between our two friend like groups of like his set of friends and my set of friends, and we were in like all of the weddings, so we had to go, and there was only one wedding that was in New Jersey that year, and then after all those weddings were done, we got married and then had kids. We just like we were moving. And so then it kept us pretty grounded here in Jersey, so haven't done much yeah.
Speaking of grounded, my man Johnny just joined from Grounded Phoenix. What's up, brother? And Matt from A Life Recovered. What's up, Matt?
Oh yeah, hi Matt.
Yeah. Okay. And then the last question before you get into your story is, what was your choice in drink and or drug, if you did?
Well, towards the end, I drank just strictly Pinot Grigio. I mean, I was.
Oh, like, you love those wines.
Yep, I was a white wine drinker, sometimes red wine, but like the heaviest of drinking times was with Pinot Grigio, but my whole life, I mean, I drank my whole life. I was in love with alcohol my whole life, and so I went through the beer period in college, and I smoked a lot of weed in college, and I didn't do anything else though because I had so much anxiety. I had friends who were like, "Come on, let's go trip out on, this or that or the other thing," and I'm like, "No, I have too much anxiety." So I felt, and even with like weed, like I felt like comatose when I had weed. So I just really stuck with alcohol. Alcohol was my love, yeah. So.
Yeah, okay, cool. All right, Sarah, well, at this time, I'll give you the floor to tell us your entire story, and I'm really excited to hear it.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. And I do really appreciate you having me on your platform. I think what you're doing, everything you're doing is amazing. I just love connecting with people who are on Instagram and really like walking the walk. That's how I came on board. I did not know what I was getting into when I came onto Instagram, and it's become much more like so amazing. It's been like everyone in this community on Instagram is just awesome. Like in all, I have a humble podcast, Sober Gratitudes podcast, and I have a humble, like a very, I'm not like looking to get famous or anything, but I do have like dedicated listeners who give me a lot of feedback, and it's really helpful. And I get a lot of really great, authentic people who come on the show, and that's what I'm looking for. Like I really like to connect because when I was in active addiction, I really wasn't connecting with people like in a really like in a profound way. And today, now that I'm sober, I have the most the real, like really, really real relationships and relationships from my past. That I had a lot of friends growing up, and they've become deeper in my sobriety, as well as like my relationships with my family and extended family and whatnot. But I drank from a very young age. I had undiagnosed anxiety and depression. I had experienced some trauma in my home. And I was just a really just highly sensitive little girl. I was a tomboy. I played all the time outside, and I was never, like, I was always. And then, he drank. So I just went to a party one night when I was 14, and there was alcohol that was there, and I got really drunk, and I fell in love, and I decided that was going to be my my life partner. I mean, I just decided then, like, I felt so much better in my skin. I all the anxiety and depression and worries, and I was just like a very nervous, sensitive, very I cried a lot. Like I just was very, very highly sensitive, and I didn't feel like I was, I always felt really different because I felt like that. Like I looked at everyone else, and I thought everyone looks okay, and I really don't feel okay. Like I feel different. I feel weird. Like I even got like a T-shirt just recently as a joke that says "weirdo." I'm like, this is such my shirt. Like I always felt like such a weirdo growing up, and I didn't talk about it. Like who talks about like, oh, I'm feeling kind of like I have low self-esteem. Like, at 10 or 12 years old, like who do you tell that you like?
Right.
And it's like hard to really know that that's what's going on inside of you. So, but my solution was alcohol. So, once I was 14, turned 15, went to high school, and then I always dated older guys who could get alcohol, and so that was really my purpose for dating. Like I chased I chased like the alcohol and the guys because I felt like that would put like love into my life because I didn't really like myself very much and
Mm-hmm.
I didn't think much of myself. I just had very low self-esteem, low self-worth, and I'm not quite sure why. I think a lot of it has to do with the mental health, also the trauma that I experienced. I know that can really kind of take away a sense of purpose in a youngster who is who's really taken advantage of by somebody else who's, just, and that other person who abused me sexually was, sick himself. And I'm assuming that he perhaps was abused. I don't know. Like, I don't talk to this person anymore. Um, and that's not my choice. That's his choice. And it's, I accept that. I accept that how it is. And but as I got older, I just tried to live a normal life. Like I wanted to be normal. So,
Hmm.
and I actually did a lot of acting, and I met my husband in the theater, and I did a lot of
Oh.
like, I was into sports and like theater, but I really loved singing, and I loved being in that community because it was such like a everyone who did shows were just like so happy and upbeat all the time.
Uh-huh.
And so I just like I'm an empath and I'm an extrovert, like by nature I'm an extrovert. And so like I was drawn to that kind of community. And so everywhere, like anything I did like that I enjoyed that had to have alcohol involved. So like cast parties, we like drink all the time, like and and so but when I went to college, I really lost myself. I was far away from home. I really wanted to go away from. I wanted to get out of my house and that I was raised in, and and I drank and I did, like it was just, I did things that some would say were sinful and regrettable and all that, and but I've made peace with that now. Like I
Mm-hmm.
really it's trash. It's just trash in my life that, to think about regrets all the time just blocks my connection with my higher power, who I call God. And that's where I really that's where I really found myself. Like it came back to my true authentic self, which is such a great feeling because I just feel so at peace to be who I was born to be. And if I'm worrying about the past or regretting the past and worrying about the future, then I'm just wasting time where I could be helping someone, where I
Right.
could be using my, like sharing my experiences to connect with somebody who feels disconnected. Because
Mm-hmm.
I get all of that. I get how it feels to feel disconnected, how it feels to feel lonely, how it feels to feel like nobody understands. And that's the way I lived most of my life, and it was shameful. Like I felt like I don't do life well, like I don't
Right.
know how to do like live life. So I'm just gonna be kind of like this actor in a way. And
Mm-hmm.
it's not to say that I was like a bullshitter with everyone. Like if like friends from my childhood listen to this and they're like, "What the fuck?" Like no, I loved all my girlfriends. Like they're like they were actually the ones that like kept me going when things were tough, like at home. And so in college, I looked for love in all the wrong places. I drank love, I drank, like, I was, you know, out of control. Like, I was just really out of control. And so when I got home, I was diagnosed with a chronic illness called Meniere's disease. And I was told by the doctor that I should not drink anymore. And I said, fuck you. Sorry, can I curse on here? I guess
Oh
it's
yeah,
legal.
you do
Okay,
whatever you want.
that's what I found that I curse a lot more now that I'm sober. And like the F word is just like boom, like that's like you really like throw the power into the
That's
person.
pretty like unique. A lot of people I meet, they say like the opposite happens.
Oh
You know,
really?
like
Well, there I
well
go
for
again. I'm a
yeah.
weirdo.
Because like for me, that's actually what happened to me.
Yeah,
Like cursing was just a part of just how I talked. It was just normal, you know. And then
yeah.
I never tried to stop ever. I never made like a conscious decision. I want to stop swearing, but it just happened, you know, along the way.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Well, I'm careful. Like I'm much more like who I like. I'm not going to go to my in-laws and drop the F-bomb while I'm down there, like, so it really depends on who I'm talking with and whatnot.
Yeah.
But, I met, after college, so just to finish up my story and to get to the good stuff, the recovery stuff, is that I left college and I just felt like completely spent. Like I don't know how I got through college. I don't know how I succeeded in college. Like I was constantly doing work in blackouts, and it was just it's mind blowing. Like really mind blowing. But I graduated college, came home with my parents. That wasn't working out, so I just moved out and lived with some friends and got a couple jobs and was trying to make ends meet so I could live on my own. And I always needed to have alcohol. Like I
Hmm.
could not do anything without drinking, and that's all I thought about. I really like I was thinking about being with friends, but I'm like, well, as long as there's alcohol involved, like we need
Right.
to have alcohol involved. And so things I chose to do, um, if there was something I was invited to that wasn't going to have alcohol, then I was like, oh no, I'm not going. That what's the point?
Yeah.
Because and also too at that by then I really um, I came to a place where I found that alcohol just made me feel better about myself. It made me feel more confident. It
Hmm.
it made me forget like the traumas of my past, um, and so it was really a great solution to the
Hmm.
problems that I had.
Yep. Hmm.
It was, self-medicating, my undiagnosed anxiety and depression and ADD, which I didn't realize I also had. And then I'm kind of going all over the place, but I guess fast forward, I did pull the jets a bit and started to get back more involved in like theater, and that's where I met my now husband. He and I will be had 20 years marriage this October,
All
and
right.
yeah, he stuck through me when some men might not have stuck through. Yeah, and he's like an amazing guy, and we have three sons together who are teenagers, two of whom have autism, so that's like a big part of my I guess when I finally came to like my rock bottom, what I didn't in the beginning feel like that I was worth sobriety because I was so full of self-loathing, but I knew
Hmm.
that I just couldn't live with or without alcohol, and I didn't know how to do it. Like I just didn't know, and so my kids were really the ones that like no, like I'm like they didn't. I thought in my head, like I had a thought in my head. I remember thinking, my kids didn't ask to be born. You know,
Hmm.
they I chose my husband. And I chose to have them. So I had this real strong urge to just like go to my I work a 12-step program, and so that's where I went. I didn't know there was any other options but that. It was either death or like drink myself to death or go to the 12-step program in
Hmm.
my community. And I did it for my kids in the beginning because I felt like that I was really towards the end just not present. I was drunk driving with them in the car. It just horror stories, but I never got into any trouble, which is really crazy. Like I was never pulled over or anything. I actually was pulled over a lot more when I was sober. So
No.
it's like I felt like my higher power saying, "We got to get like some tickets back here, like for like all the ones that you should have gotten when you were drinking and driving." So, but anyway, so I started working the 12 steps. I just went to meetings and I made connections with a community that really held my hand and kept me um, grounded when I felt like I was just so lost and so confused. I didn't know how to live life without
Hmm.
drinking. So, but I knew that if I kept drinking, because I got sober at 39, and I knew that if I was going to keep
Whoa,
drinking, that
you look like you're about 37 right now. You got sober at 39.
yeah, I'll be this year I'll be turning 49. So,
Wow.
so sobriety like really just brightens up like my life. It brightened my life up, and I just feel so free and at peace to be sober today. And so when I first got sober, it was really tough for me. I had so much trauma. There was some trauma that was layered on top of early childhood trauma, covered over trauma for 2.5 decades, and then we had our children. I was so grateful to have our children. That two of them were diagnosed with autism, and that was
Hmm.
I wouldn't say a trauma, but it was a big deal. Like I was
Right.
like, okay, like I've got to be an adult, but how can I be an adult when I'm like all I think about is drinking and all I want to do is drink,
Yeah.
and and so getting sober like really helped me to think less of myself and more about my children. Not that I was like the shittiest mom ever, like when I was drinking, but I wasn't the way that I really wanted to be. And I was finding the last 2 years, like age 37 to 39, I was a daily drinker. I was hiding bottles, like I was refilling the wine bottles with water, and all the tricks, everything that I think people who are recovering alcoholics can understand is that that's what we do. Like hide all the wine bottles underneath all the recycling, and so actually, about 6 years into my 12-step program, I had never really been through the steps thoroughly, and I'm not quite sure why. And I kept hearing that that's kind of when you're going to feel really great, like you're going to reach emotional sobriety. And I felt like I felt like I'm like I don't desire drinking anymore, but I just something wasn't totally right. Like I didn't feel completely content with my life or at peace. Like I still was feeling feelings of regret of my past, and I still had I felt like I did have a lot of time worrying about my future, and going to meetings wasn't enough. And I kept thinking, I'm like, everyone keeps talking about this book that you like do the steps out of, and for me, I'm like, okay, well, I felt this kind of longing, like to know more about this, but I didn't really know how to get there, and it was like kind of a push and pull resistance. Like I wanted more recovery, I wanted to feel better. Like I knew there had to be more than just like no more hangovers, like and feeling more energetic, and my skin clearing up, right? Like and not looking all bloated anymore because of like all the drinking I was doing. Right. I knew that I'm like there must be more. So I started to I did blogging, and I didn't really like doing that so much. So I disbanded a website that I started a couple like 4 years ago, and then I started to get picked up on Instagram. People wanted to interview me for a podcast, and the first podcast I was interviewed on was called Adventures in Autism. This amazing mother who has 3 children. One has autism. She saw that I was an autism mom, but at that point I really hadn't gone into my sobriety. Like I didn't really come out with my sobriety. And so when she asked me to interview, I was really nervous. I'm like, wow, podcast? What's this? What's podcast? And so I was on that podcast, and at the end I said, I felt like it was important to share that I couldn't be the kind of mom I really wanted to be until I got sober. And so, and I shared how like, I think like I have one of my episodes on my podcast is that my children's autism did not make me an alcoholic. And I also have an episode that says my alcoholism didn't cause them to get like my alcoholism didn't cause them to become autistic. Like, and I wanted to share how, because I was having such a difficult time coping with the fact that I had 2 special needs children and an older son who really needed my attention too, like that I was so overwhelmed, and that drinking really lifted the burden of feeling overwhelmed because I wasn't thinking about drinking so much anymore. And so after that, I started to find that I wanted to kind of show up more on Instagram as a sober woman, as a sober mother. And my children were getting older, and I was thinking about their privacy. So less and less, like I was posting about my children's autism, and more I was posting about, being a sober woman. And I was on podcasts more, and I was like joining communities in Instagram, on social media, and meeting so many awesome people. And then a couple people, like over the course of a couple of years, were saying, you should really do a podcast. I'm like, what? Are you kidding me? Like me, a podcaster? But I did feel like I really wanted to do something. Sobriety, like it opens your world to like doing things other than drinking, right? Like thinking about drinking. And a part of me really felt like, I am like, I'm in my 40s now, and I'm like reconnecting with who I am and my creative side. And so I've always had the gift of gab. Like I love talking a lot, and
Uh-huh.
but I've learned to listen really well too. And talk to my sponsee. She'll tell you that I am a good listener. Like I can tell you that for sure. But I do love talking because I love recovery and I love talking about it
Hmm.
and hearing
Same.
people's stories and whatnot. So when people said, try this podcast, try doing podcasts, I'm like, I don't know. And one day, you know, I've been sharing a lot about how grateful I was to be sober on my platform, and so uh, my sponsee's not listening. Hi. So I kept kind of paying attention to that, and I'm like, does this have anything to do with this longing to like get more connected to? I don't know. I don't even know what I wanted. Like that was the thing. Like I was searching for something, and it was like more of a depth, like more depth in my sobriety. Like I said before, not just like being dry. Like like I wanted like to grow spiritually, but I didn't know that that's what I wanted. Like I just
Right.
was like my heart was like like pulling me somewhere. So then I one day like I was like in the shower. All these things happen in the shower. Like I had these like washing my hair, and then I'm like sober gratitudes like that came into my head, and I called a friend of mine who's been helping me kind of like figure out what like a focus, and he's like the director of a podcasting um, uh, on a television station. He does all the podcasting. And I told him, I said, what do you think of sober gratitudes? And he's like, that's it. He's like, that's it. Go with it. So I'm like, okay, I'm just going to do this. And it's a way to like reach people and to connect with people and to show people and people who are sober curious that the life on the
Hmm.
other side of addiction can be phenomenal. Like
Right.
it can be excellent. I mean, it's better. And it miracles happen when you get sober, and it's just
Hmm.
unreal. So I started doing the podcast, and a couple months in I was connected with somebody on the West Coast, and had a really strong connection with this person who offered a 12-step program where I could thoroughly go through the 12 steps as they're designed. And I don't promote my program of recovery. It works for me, but I promote sobriety and recovery because, however, like I just want the whole fucking world to get sober. Like
Yeah.
I want, and however you do it, awesome. Because like
Right.
it's a better way of living,
Yeah,
like
so I just want to say
yeah,
something about that, what you just said real quick.
yeah, yeah,
Um, because like when I got sober in a 12-step program as well. So like in
right,
the very beginning, like early on, like I started to suspect, I found out, oh man, like the drink, the drug, it was just a symptom. It wasn't my problem. I was the
right,
real problem. But then I started to think like, wow, this program is actually designed to just make us better human beings, period.
yeah,
Yeah, you know what I mean? Because like
mm-hmm.
I know a guy right now um, that's taking somebody through the 12 steps that has never struggled with drugs and alcohol in their life. But when they hear us talk, they can relate and identify to like how we feel and
Yeah,
certain things that we did and everything like that. So
yeah.
yeah, just throwing that out there to everybody.
No, and I'm so glad you brought that up because when I did this 12-step workshop,
Mhm.
it just sent me into a place that I've never been before in terms of spiritual fitness and like this
Mhm.
huge psychic change,
Yeah.
this fourth dimension they talked about in the big book. Because
Yeah.
I used to be like, what the, who the, what is this? This is like cultish. What the heck? But no, like I'm like, what? They're drinking the Kool-Aid, like whatever. When I first, well, you know what? Like that's not for me. That's not the experience I'm having. I mean, I'm like actually, I watch cults like documentaries. I'm like, whoa, that's scary shit. But like, I can say for sure that that's not the program I'm in. So when I did do a thorough 12 step, when I did the thorough 4 step, and I mean, I had such an incredible change, and it was what I was kind of longing for so many years, like to
Yeah.
find that connection to like come. So I find it's like over the course of COVID, like everyone's like, oh, COVID, it sucked, but this, that. For me, like COVID was a gift of, and I'll come back to what you were saying before about like
Yeah.
how just regular humans can do the 12 steps, because when I did the 12 steps, I did it on Zoom, and my husband was actually a witness of me going through it, and he saw me having like this incredible psychic change and personality change where I stopped becoming really selfish. And even in the best intentions, you can be selfish. Like I was
Yeah.
really selfish, but I would manipulate to get my way, thinking
Hmm.
that I was being all night, like, oh, I'm gonna like make your life better, but just do what I want you to do, and then like, like do things that like I have, like I want the world to look like this, like this is the stage that I'm putting out in front of myself, and I want it to look like this, and if you don't do it this way, then my life's gonna, like I'm gonna be pissed and resentful. So, but that what happened is I stopped trying to control everything around me and
Hmm.
people, and even my thoughts and my feelings. Like, so my husband saw me. My husband's not an alcoholic, but he has been working from home during a whole preach. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's so hard for me not to talk about how psyched I am about how I'm having the most amazing experience in sobriety. And so my husband, he heard me going through it, and he actually went through it himself. And we had like he had it was such an I was we did like a thorough amends with each other. Like we healed so many. I mean, just just amazing things happened because we both went through this process, and we feel
Yeah.
like our marriage had this huge psychic change, and we parent better. We don't parent in fear. We parent like really trusting our instincts, and like
Mhm.
not out of like we realize how much we parented out of fear, and
Yes.
and
Yeah.
doing that, like I don't want my kids to have parents that are afraid all the time.
Right.
And not that we
Yep.
were afraid all the time, but like it was, and there were some legitimate things that we were afraid of, like but anyway,
Yeah.
point being, we went through the experience, like, and so COVID gave us the opportunity to really have an incredible change in our marriage as parents, and the more I just grow along spiritual lines and I live other centered instead of self centered, and I
Hmm.
have the opportunity to work with other people who want a better life. They want more than just putting down the drink. They
Right.
want to like enrich their they want to like stop the brain train. They want to
Yeah.
stop like the regret. If you want like that gone, there is a solution. There
Yeah.
is a solution. And so, and that my husband, who's not an alcoholic, he runs his company. Like, damn, I was like, you're rocking it, honey. Like you
Yeah.
are
Yeah.
like, and the way like, and he's like the way he is with my sons. I'm like, you fucking rock. Like you were the best dad. Not that he was a bad dad. He's always been an awesome dad, but like now he does, like we both see changes in each other, and so it
Yeah.
just makes us so excited about like just growing old together now.
Yeah.
I always thought like one day he's gonna divorce me because of like all the crap that I just did in my
Right.
active alcoholism and even in early sobriety. And but no, he's like, we're in it together, and
Yeah.
for better for
That
worse. So
that's amazing, man.
yeah.
Like you're the first person I've met that has a spouse that has worked this. Well, honestly, my wife she's still doing it.
Okay.
So but you mentioned something because we got the same book basically. So in
Yeah.
that book it talks about how fear touches just about every aspect of our life,
Yeah.
basically. And how, but something I was unaware of until I went through that was that it talks about how we can outgrow fear.
Yeah.
Like I learned that like it is impossible to stop fear from coming to us, you know what I mean? But I learned that we can feel fear and keep moving forward. But when we're feel fearful, it'll stop us. And then we start going backwards. And then so like I understood what they're talking about of just growing along spiritual lines,
Yeah.
you can outgrow the fear and things like that. That's great, and that's so amazing. I got to meet your husband one day, man. This is amazing. I'd love to talk to him about his
Oh,
experience.
yeah, he's a really great guy. But
Mhm.
yeah, I love him to death. So, um, yeah, and he's always like, I'm like, honey, I've got a couple of like, things I got to do. This one of which is this, and he's like, oh, great, great. Like he's so supportive of what I do,
Yeah,
because
that's awesome.
I'm just so passionate, like you are, like just so passionate about recovery and like just recovering out loud. And that's the thing. Like I know what I'm doing may be radical to some people in this 12-step program, but I know there's a lot of people who do, talk on podcasts about their
Yeah.
program. And you know what? Like I think about the founders of the program, and I think they would. My personal thought is like, you know what? They're up there in heaven. They're probably saying, you know what? We can't go to institutions because of COVID. We can't go to jails. We can't go to like hospitals. Like who the fuck is doing that anyway? Who goes to those places anyway to find the sick and suffering from alcoholism? You know what? You know where we're finding them? It's right here on Instagram.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
that's where we're finding them. You know, and yeah, in the rooms and Zoom meetings and like other groups that have like Sober Mom Squad. Like I'll promote the heck out of them. Like they're awesome. And and what they're doing is great for especially moms with young kids. I think it's phenomenal. But like I recover out loud because like I want people to see like I was once like so pathetic, like and I mean that in the kindest ways. Like pathetic meaning like I actually like forgive myself and I love myself despite the fact that I was just so full of self-pity and lacking of self-love, and I just didn't know why I was that way, and now I understand, and now I have a design for living. This big book is a design for living because my husband uses this design for living as well.
Yeah.
And he's not a drunk. He's not a former drunk. And I can just live my life not like beating myself up all the time about, oh, I should have said that or I should have done that. Like my life is just much more peaceful. And I just, like I said, I just want to, every day I wake up, and where I woke up for so many years before I got sober, like pissed that I wasn't dead. And today I wake up every morning, and yeah, sometimes I've got aches and pains. You know, I'm reaching like the middle age years faster than I can like even like blink my eye, and so the aches and pains. But I wake up and I'm like, I'm so pumped to be alive, and like the people that are in my life, like the community that I've met through Instagram. There's Jim, I love you, Jim, and Time to Fly, Mom, I love her, and I know others who have jumped on. I haven't been able to say hi, but I love you all, and it's just so amazing to have that connection with people and together, like recover together, because that's the thing is like we need community to recover together and to recover individually, like to heal the things that we once suffered from and used alcohol to try to fix, right?
Yeah.
And so there's an easier, softer way of living today, and I am like, I feel like I'm one of the luckiest people in the world that I did not die. I could have died so many times in the year, age 14 to 39. Drinking was a constant in my life. Like I am one of the luckiest. So I do not take that for granted. And so today I live my life every day to try to help other people, to be of service to others. I'm taking phone calls constantly all day. I get podcasts out when I can, you know, people who I can interview, I get that down. But I'm busy, and my kids are seeing this and they're proud of me, and I feel really, I'm glad about that. Like they see me coping by like saying, oh, you know, today I need a cup of tea, or I'm going to go for a walk. Like I'm not saying, oh, I just need to get wasted because I had the suckiest day, or that person cut me off, I need a drink, you know, like, but you know, I never realized like how much I used to say that kind of shit when my kids were real little, and so now I don't have to say that anymore, and I know that if my kids ever get to a place where they're like, they feel like they do something a little bit too much, and it's like, if they want to change how they're thinking, or they're feeling like they want to, that they're doing, like they're feeling afraid they're doing too much of something, I've always told them, I'm like, you have me to come to. I will not judge you. I will love you no matter what, you know, and that to me, like, it's a nice way to kind of like end my little like preach here, is that I'm so grateful that my kids know that they can always come to me if they need help, because they really are, like, I love my children more than anything in the world, and to model to them good coping skills, and for me, I can reinforce to them when they're choosing good coping skills, and that's really such an amazing feeling to have that, to get to do that is just such a gift, and I couldn't have done it if it wasn't for the people in the 12-step program, in the rooms over the past 8.5 years. I love every single one of them who have held my hand and listened to me cry for like years and years, and up until this very day. So
Yeah.
I guess that's all I got. I could keep going on and on forever, but
Yeah, well, thank you so much. I can relate and identify with a lot of things that you said. Because something I learned, I think it was maybe like my very first meeting ever. This guy who still says it to this day, he always says, focus on the similarities and not the differences. Like,
right.
I'm a boy, she's a girl, I'm Hawaiian, he's Mexican. You know what I mean? Like, that's all differences. So focus, or not focus, but yeah, focus on the similarities. Like,
Yeah.
did you feel the same way that person felt? Did you do these kind of things? Did you think this way? And that really helped me,
Mm-hmm.
because like just right now, even though you're a female, I'm a male, I can identify with a lot of the things you did because I did them too. But it's crazy how, like, when I first got sober, in my mind, I'm thinking, nobody has done these things that I have done. I was gonna come in here and blow everybody away. And then I'm sitting there like, oh, dang, oh man, it's like, I don't even want to tell my story.
I know. Like
Yeah.
it's crazy because we come in so self-centered, because we're
Yeah.
like think like and not that we're bad people, we're sick people, and
Yeah.
we come in, we're trying to get better, and that's
Yeah.
and we come in and realize, wow, like so many people did like the same shit that I did, like, and then that really helped me feel like, okay, all right, so
Yeah. That
I
helped me
did
feel like, yeah,
some.
I'm in the right place.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. And I like what you said because I learned that early on too from a lady in a meeting. She said, like addicts, alcoholics, we're not bad people trying to get good. We're sick people trying to get well.
Yeah,
I understood that because, like, in my heart, even active in addiction, I knew I really wasn't like this evil, crazy person. Although
yeah,
I did a lot of terrible things,
yeah,
it was something in me that was like, like in my spirit, like tucked deep, deep, deep down there away. Like there was something in there that I felt that about myself. So when I heard that, I was so new. It was like my first week, and it stuck with me, and it was like confirmation that like God is telling me, like, yes, that feeling, that voice, that thing that you heard active in addiction is true. But there's still a lot of work you got to do, though. You know what I mean? And going through the process, I learned so much about myself that I did not know. It's kind of weird to think like how somebody cannot know something about themselves. Oh my gosh, there's so many things I didn't know about myself. It was because I was good at lying, so especially to myself. So after
yeah.
buying my own lies for so long, I cannot differentiate the truth from the false, already, and it was crazy though. But I really enjoyed like hearing you like talk. I mean, always I listen to your podcast, but it's cool like doing this where
Yeah.
we can talk back and forth to each other. It's pretty awesome. I really love that you're doing that and how that all started, and I love just the connection too with other people in recovery, other people who are just sober, like no program, whatever. I don't care. Like somebody who had like a problem with a drink or a drug, and they no longer do. They overcame it, so to speak. Like those are the like honestly, I only have sober friends today, like really. And I don't think I will ever have because the process of recovery, like, it changes you and everything. And I could make friends with somebody, but it's like the level that can be there, like, I don't know how to explain it. Because I'm a person that I learned that, man, I gotta continue to grow, as a person. Like my description of what recovery looks like or what growth looks like is like me trying to walk up a down escalator. Like if I stop, I'll end up right back where I started. And there's nothing that'll really move me like my life being on the line. Like if there was no serious threat to my life, I wouldn't say that, oh yeah, I would get sober and all these things, I would start to grow and everything, stuff like that. But that's awesome though. I really, really, really enjoyed it. And then we're gonna talk about when I'll be on your show too, your podcast.
Yes, you're
Yeah.
definitely going to be on my show.
Yeah.
But if
Yeah.
I can say one thing, if you don't mind,
Yeah.
I always like to say, because I got young. I got young. I don't know. I I feel younger, so
Yeah. Yeah.
but
You
but
look young. You
so
look young too. That's so great.
with my people lighting. But the thank you. No, I just have to learn how to take a compliment. Okay, thank you. But the 39, I thought I was like a dinosaur, and I realize now I'm like, and my kids were 3 under the age of 8, and I always want to say when I have the opportunity, if people are listening to anything that I'm saying, is that it's never too late to get sober.
Right.
It's never too late. It doesn't matter if your kids are teenagers or if you don't have kids and you're like 60 and you're like, my life really hasn't been that fulfilling. I've drinking too. It's whatever the case may be. It's never too. You don't have to be. You don't. There's no like qualifying age that you need to be.
Right.
And it's something that comes from within too. Like, because I know, like you were saying, for many years, like I was like, I know I like drinking way more than everyone else. Like I knew that was the truth. And then I found myself like, going through times where I drank more and drank less, drank more, drank less. And then like I said, the last 2 or 3 years is when I really, really like, picked up and was daily drinking and doing so much heavy drinking to the point where I was very, very ill. And that's when I needed to reach out for help. And I'm so grateful that, I was suffering silently. No one knew. I was a shock to everyone because I was a secret keeper. And this goes back all the way to when I was a little girl and I was sexually abused. I learned that keeping secrets is what you do. Lies is what you do. You tell lies to make people think that you are okay.
Right.
But that ended up really taking its toll on me. And by the age of 39, something really profound happened, actually, which I'm going to do an episode on. It's called My Rock Bottom Dream. So anyone who's listening and is curious to know about my podcast, just go to Sober Gratitude and hit subscribe, because I do have guests, but then I also do share parts of my story that I feel may be helpful for those people that are like, it's like, who are questioning whether or not they should get sober. And like, it's really important to trust your gut. Like if you feel like, if you're thinking about alcohol a lot, if you're wondering, if you're answering all those, like Googling, like, am I an alcoholic? Chances are you might need to like look into a program that might help you like figure out why you drink, and you never know. Like if you're thinking about you might have a problem, chances are you might have a problem. But I'm not going to do anyone's inventory, because I know for me, I had to be the one to say, yes, I'm an alcoholic because I cannot have more than one drink. I have to have somebody, a group, a community help me, because I don't know which way is up. I was a complete wreck, and I owe my life to all those people, and that's why I'm so committed to the program to this day, because it works. It does work, and I've seen it work, and it continues to work for me. And I just it's a better way of living. It's easier, it's softer. It just I don't know. It's really I'm going to promote recovery and sobriety to the day I die.
Me too.
So.
Yeah, I'm all about it,
Yeah.
And it's oh look, so here's Jim. I hope you're still here. So Jim wrote, yeah, okay, sobriety is definitely the fountain of youth. Every time I hear Jim talk and stuff, he's always talking about how old he is. I mean, bro, you're only 44. You're nowhere near being old.
He could be like my child. Like I'm about to like give birth to Jim. He's like my son. Yeah, he can be my son.
Oh my goodness.
Jim. Yeah,
there he is.
Young.
Okay, so
Sure.
as we wind down, I'm gonna ask you some questions as we start wrapping this up.
Okay.
Okay, so the first question is, how has being sober affected your relationship with your husband and your kids?
Oh my gosh. Hands down, it has made it so much better. Like getting sober, but really doing the work. And I spoke about this earlier, so I don't want to like beat a dead horse. But like we like my husband and I, we both had to do some work, and taking a look at ourselves, taking a look at where we played a part in struggle that we had in our relationship, and what couples have struggles. We all struggle. Like friendships have struggles. So in my relationship with my children, I don't think they're afraid of me anymore. I think they trust me now. They have respect for me. Like they were so little and they don't really talk about it. So, but I do know in how we interact with each other that, they, I don't know. It's just like, it's a different way of living now that we have some length of time where we've been sober and emotionally sober and spiritually sober. it's just, we have really, really great relationships in
Right.
this house.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. The next question is, what surprised you about like quitting drinking?
Um, that I would be able to have fun and
Hmm.
enjoy life.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
like I didn't think I would be able to have any fun anymore. Like
Yeah.
right? Like
We're not a glum lot.
right, exactly. And but you know what? And I in the beginning it was hard. Like I had to go to all these like neighborhood parties where I used to drink at, and I had to learn how to like just get used to living a different lifestyle. But I felt so much better. I was like putting water into my body and not
Yeah.
like and then I wasn't like waking up with heart palpitations thinking I was gonna have a heart attack anymore. So, yeah, so having fun, like I laugh, like, and I feel like that's the thing, like my senses and the way that I can like empathize and my experience with life in general, like I appreciate the little things. Like my husband told me the other day, he's like, you never used to be so into springtime because of how the birds come out and build their nests. Like I'm sitting next to the window where my youngest son, Cameron, who has autism, and he's 13 and he loves birds too, and he takes care of the birds that are outside and inside our house. And like we sit every spring, we're looking out the window, and I'm like, sometimes I do think about it. I'm like, oh my god, when I was drinking, I would never do this shit. Like, and if I was, I would have to have like a glass of wine in my hand. They're like, oh, like watching the birds with my son. But it's like little things like that. Like I never paid attention to the little things in life that really are just so spectacular. And I have more fun. I enjoy life so much more now that I'm sober.
Yeah. Me too. Me
Good.
too. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. The next one is how has your mental health been affected?
Oh my gosh, that's another thing. I had pretty severe. I do. I have major depressive disorder. That's what it's called.
Mhm.
And I also have severe clinical anxiety. And I also found out that I had undiagnosed ADD. And that's something that's like in my genes,
Uh-huh.
and because I was a girl, it wasn't really noticed. So when I got sober and I like wasn't on any medication, the first year, like I started to kind of feel, I'm like, why do I feel like I don't want to be alive? Like, why do I feel
Mhm.
like I was thinking about like not like I still had that, I don't feel like there's a purpose for me. And I cried a lot. I was just like, I was dealing with like, I didn't do the work about resolving the trauma, the sexual abuse trauma that I endured. And so I found a psychiatrist
Mhm.
about 4 or 5 years ago now, which isn't too long ago. And he's
Mhm.
amazing. He really works with me to really understand who I am. So it took like a year and a half or so to really get my I am on medication. That's another thing I say is like, if you need to take medication, take the goddamn medication. I'm sorry, like just take it like
Yeah.
as prescribed, because some people are like, no, I shouldn't. I should be okay with just this program, or just if I exercise more, if I do yoga more, if I do. And I'm not like trying to be an asshole and judgmental about that, because I
I
do
get
think,
it.
you know what I'm saying? But
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
some people legitimately need medication, and
Yeah.
like, and so I am like, I feel like that is in place, and my program's in place, and my spiritual life is in place. And so like there's a lot of things that have to occur outside of my program in order to make this person like
Mm.
function
Right.
like, not like a weirdo, but like, because I am a weirdo, but like like I'll always be a weirdo, I think. But like no, but it's like as a responsible adult,
Right.
because I
Yeah.
feel like I'm adulting much
Yeah. Yeah.
better. So yeah. So that's
Okay.
the long answer to the question of mental
Yeah.
health.
Okay. Oh, what is something that you lost in sobriety?
um, Fear.
Oh, I like that one.
Yeah,
Hmm.
fear. Yeah, fear. Like fear of death. Even like I
Yeah.
used to be so afraid of dying, but like I just for me, like I do have a higher power who I feel like is always with me, and I don't know, maybe because I also watch the um, shows about near-death experiences, and people go to like whatever, like the
Yeah, yeah.
and they come back totally changed, having the spiritual awakening. I'm like, that's kind of like what I felt, but I didn't die.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I was slowly killing myself in a way, you know, drinking so much. But yeah, so being afraid is like, if I'm afraid, I know I'm stuck in self.
Right.
So I just ask my higher power. I'm like, please remove this fear and
Mhm.
show me what I can be, and that
Yeah,
usually leads me to helping somebody, and so I can get out of myself. And
right. Yeah,
yeah, so
yeah.
I
And
lost that fear. It creeps in every so often. Fear does creep in, but I have a design to like get rid of it. You
right,
know,
right. You got the tools. You know what to do when
the
it pops
tool,
up.
the tools,
Yeah, and I
exactly.
can
So
relate a lot to that. We spoke about it a little bit earlier. Um, because feeling fear is one thing, and then being fearful is another.
right.
Um, and I just learned so much. Is in that fourth step when I start to learn about fear, and because like as a man too, like we are taught not to have certain fears, but that doesn't mean we don't have them. And like doing a fearless and searching a moral inventory. Like it was amazing when I put my pen to the paper, my arm just started going. Brrr. How things I wasn't even conscious of, I could just boom, 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 boom. I had so many fears, and I was like, "Whoa, really?" But then, of course, we learn. We get equipped with different tools, to overcome it, to outgrow it, and things like that. So that's great. Okay. So the last question is, what would you say to encourage the newcomer or somebody trying to get sober right now?
Be patient. Let
Ooh.
people help you. Trust that it will get better. If you have a shit ass day and you got to the end of the day without picking up,
Mm.
then you had a really fucking awesome day.
Yeah, yeah.
So just keep on keeping on, because you know what, if if I could do it, you know, I really think that because I was a, ugh, but really, it's just, it takes patience, trust that things can get better if you just take a look at yourself, understand why, find somebody that you're comfortable with, find someone that
Mm.
you feel like you can trust,
Right.
and work with that person and let them help you. And if you're like, nah, there, I don't feel, then there's always other way. There's so much out there, and people want to help the newcomers. People want to, anyone
Yes.
who's listening to this, who's new and they're like struggling, and they're like, oh, I want to get sober, or I'm like struggling in sobriety, I'm relapsing a lot. Well, you know what? People like me, like, I'm waiting for you
Yeah.
to like reach out to me and say, can you please help or show me where I can go, because that's what I live for every day, is to give back. And so there are like millions of people in the world who feel the same way that I do. Is that like, if I'm not being asked to, like, called upon to help, that like I feel like that's what I want to do all the time. So it's like, you're like, if you want to ask for help, you're doing the right thing, because there's
Hmm.
people who want to do that all the time, and they want to help you. So
Yeah. And
that's all it is.
I'm right there with you. We're so much alike in that aspect because I mean, I became a substance abuse counselor. I went and I got a degree, and then I learned that somebody. Where was I? Well, I would like to watch John Maxwell a lot. So John Maxwell, he's into leadership. He's like you look up leadership, you'll see this guy's picture there. But he had Steve Harvey on one time, and Steve Harvey said, "Look, your career is what you paid for, and your calling is what you're made for." But I'm a counselor. I'm in recovery. I sponsor. My calling and my career is one and the same, and I'm super passionate about it. Like I said, I gotta physically be like dying or something to not go live, to not meet with my clients or my sponsees, or and like something I physically gotta be like dying or something like that. You know what I mean? I gotta be dead or dying basically, because like I'm so passionate, like I'm so filled with purpose today. Like this disease, I mean, it forged a great weapon against itself when it tried to kill me and failed. You know, like people, Sarah, like me and you, I believe this. I believe this with everything in me, even though I'm a counselor. Still yet. Like us, people like us, we are the ultimate weapon in the fight against addiction because we have an education no amount of money can pay for. You know, we have our own experiences to carry to somebody else and and like share with them what we did. You know, and it is great though, man. Thank you so much for being here. Oh, my family just got here. I can hear all of them now. They all just showed up.
Oh, that's great. Well, I hope you feel better. I know you weren't feeling 100%, so
Yeah.
just keep me posted on how everything's going. But thank you so much for having me on your awesome platform here, because I'm all
Yeah.
about together spreading the hope in recovery.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, recovery is
Absolutely.
possible. If you
Thank you
truly
so
want
much.
it, yeah.
Yeah. Hey, you know, after this is over, I'll call you to talk about the podcast.
Okay, that sounds good.
Yeah. Okay, Sarah. Thank you
All
so much
right.
for being here.
Okay, thank
Bye
you.
bye.
Bye.
Okay, guys, that was Sarah's story. If you have a story to tell, reach out. Announcements again, real quick. Our Pro Recovery Power page website is up. You can go check that out because we're not just recovery clothing. That's not what it is. That's just part of it. Also, if you need a meeting, we have a Pro Recovery Power Hour. It's every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. It's a non-denominational meeting. All fellowships, all support groups, everybody's welcome. Anybody who's struggling, they need to talk. I believe from the overflow of the heart, the mouth will speak. Our mouth is the valve to relieve the pressure from our heart. So everybody's welcome. We'll see you guys next week. Take care.